All right. So, yeah, that's all what it is, right? So, how many of you, in a time when you had to start over, realized that you didn't do very good at creating enough support for yourself? Right? So, what I want us to look at, right, is that starting over, which is our series, right? This is the 4th week. Starting over is hard. Right? Because you're letting go of things, and not just things, you're letting go of dreams and hopes and aspirations and wishes and all the things you wanted, and for whatever reason, it ended. Right? And now you're moving, after you let go of that, you're now moving into a new life. And the question that I want to come back to over and over again tonight is there enough support for you? Is there enough support? One of the questions that we ask in our house is, do you need more love in this situation or less love? Right? So that's one of the standard questions. When something going on, and one of us will say to the other one, do you need more love in this moment or less love? And there's never been a time when one of us has said, oh, really, I just need less love. Really, less love would just fix everything right now. Less love, really just back it off a little bit. Less love would just make me happier, right? That there's never a time when less love and less support really is helpful. Now, how many of you have had support that didn't really feel like support? Right? How many of you have had support that was so non-supportive that you just decided that you weren't going to do support anymore? All right? So, I'm not talking tonight about that crazy, weird support that doesn't really feel like support. I'm talking about genuine, to your heart, all the way in support. Right? So that you get to be completely supported. Completely supported. So, I want to talk about support at 4 different levels. I want to talk about physically, I want to talk about emotionally, I want to talk about spiritually, and I want to talk about mentally. Now, usually we talk about mental, somewhere higher up the thing, and we talk about spirituality last. I want to talk about mentally last, and if it doesn't work, oh well, but that's why I want to go there. Okay, so let's start with physical. When we're going through times of great change, physicality becomes really important. Do you know Maslow's hierarchy of needs? Like, what happens in Maslow's hierarchy of needs is as the base level needs are taken care of, you get to more and more at the higher level, the highest level of self-actualization. But at the bottom level, it's basic needs. And when you're going through a time of starting over, sometimes those basic need pieces are missing, or are changing rapidly. And what I want you to look at tonight is, how are you doing at taking care of your basic needs? And is that a place where you're in a conversation with God? Last week I shared that 10 years ago I went through a great time of starting over, where my dad died, I left the church, and I got a divorce all within 90 days, which was more change, more starting over all at one time than any soul really should do it. And, kind of my thing was, if some is good, then too much is just about right? Which is kind of the way I've lived most of my life. So even starting over had to be bigger than... So there was a time, right, when I was starting over where, I'm just going to say it, where I didn't have a place to live. And I was staying in like long-term hotels, which weren't very nice, but they were fine. right? And every time I tried to find a place to live, you know that intuitive thing that you go through, and that's not it, that's not it, that's not it. So I'm staying in these long-term hotels, and I'm not really digging the vibe too much at all, but that's where I am, right? And I'm spending sometimes here, and because my dad just died, I'm spending a lot of time with my mom in California, because like 15 minutes after my dad passed, she decided she was selling everything and moving to the beach, which I just love her, but that's kind of the Rogers way we do it. If some is good, we just do all the change all at one time, right? So within a year, she had sold out her house that she'd owned for 50 years, and we cleaned out the garage and all the cupboards and all the closets, and she got a little cute place down at the beach. So I'm going back and forth to California, and when I'm here, when I'm in town, I'm staying at these long-term hotel things. Hotel that's, it's kind of it's maybe a bit of a misnomer, but you get the thing, right? And so one of my friends calls me and says, Richard, do you have a place to live? And for the first time in my life, I said, no. I had no idea this tonight was going here, folks. So I said no. And he said, Richard, I have a house for you. And the renter's going to be out in 2 weeks. And he said, do you want to see it? And I said, no. It simply doesn't matter. He says, it's a cute little place. It's up in Cave Creek. It's got lots of trees in the backyard. You know, it's got a garage. You'll love it. We just decorated the inside. The only catch is in a couple of months, we might be selling it because now that we live in Virginia, it's just kind of a hassle to have a house here and a house there. So we might be selling it. Would you want it even if it was for 6 months to a year? I said, absolutely. Right? So he said, and it should be available in 2 weeks, because then I was going to California to help my mom for 2 weeks anyway, and so it would be perfect. I'd be back and thing. And so it's kind of like, okay, universe, I get it, right? I kept wanting to push and like find a place to live, and every place I went to look at it wasn't it. And then this thing just opened up, and it just was perfect. And so on the trip to California, I'm helping my mom, and we're doing all the stuff. And I then go on a silent retreat up to Santa Barbara, and just because I needed to get away. And on my way out of the silent retreat, I turn on my phone, and there's this call from another friend who says, Richard, and she had moved out of town like a year, 2 years before, and she said, I've got a storage unit with furniture that, I've got a whole household of furniture, and I've got a few boxes of my personal stuff. I'll give you all my furniture, and you can just send me my personal stuff to me where she was on the East Coast. And it was like, okay, great, like perfect. So I come back from California. I have a new place to live, beautiful, beautiful new place to live, and all this amazing free furniture. And there was only one catch. I had to tell somebody I didn't have a place to live. That what I want you to see tonight is that when you're starting over, sometimes you have to say things and be in places that you never thought you would be. And if you're willing to say it out loud, if you're willing to ask for help, there's a whole lot more help out there. But if you stay stuck in your pride, you're out. Right? So one of the things I want you to look at tonight is where in the place in your life are you not asking life, the universe, God, the people around you for physical support? Where do you need more help? Where do you need to be more blessed? Where do you need more physical support in your life? Because I believe it's out there. I believe it's available. But you have to say it. Okay, let's go to emotional. One of the things that happens when you start over is that you have feelings. How many have ever gone through you don't have to raise your hand, but if you've gone through bankruptcy, How many people had feelings about that? Right? Anybody gone through divorce and had feelings about that? Anybody have an end of a relationship, had feelings about that? One of the things that happens when you start over is emotionally, it tends to be a time of high emotions. Now, the question then becomes, what do you do with that? And in the context of support, what do you do when you have a lot of feelings that sometimes you can't process them fast enough? I'm going to suggest tonight that you actually have to share them out loud. Right? Now, I know we all want to journal them and we all want to take them into prayer, and that's all really nice stuff, right? But I'm going to tell you that I think the best way to process a lot of feelings fast is to say them out loud to somebody else who loves and cares about you and will love you right there. Right? Because what's happening in times of change, and when you're starting over, it's a deep time of change. What's happening is you're having so many feelings every day that if you're not expressing them on a regular basis, they're backing up on you. And backed up feelings just get weird, right? That's a spiritual term. They just get weird, right? Right? And so what happens is when they start backing up on you, you're no longer a clean flowing channel for God's good. You're now backed up and it gets weird and gets weird and weird. So what I want you to look at is, do you have a group of people or some people or a handful of people that on a daily basis you can talk about what you're feeling, so that you get to get it out of your system? Like, okay, so today I'm angry. Today I'm scared. Today I'm depressed. Today I'm overwhelmed. Today I'm happy today. Right? Like, so do you have a place as you're walking through this time of starting over, these times of great change, where you get to download all your feelings as quickly and as easily as possible in a place that will just love you? I found this great men's group. And every Tuesday night I would go to this great men's group and I would just tell the truth. This is what's so for me today. This is what's so for me today. This is what's so for me. And these amazing men would just love me right there. They didn't need anything from me. They didn't want anything from me. They just loved me. Some of you even knew who I was before I walked in the door. They didn't hold it against me. They just love me. So what I want you to see, that if you're starting over, we have to design in support. We have to design in a place where you go over and over again, either to a person or to a group of people that you go to over and over again and tell the truth, what's going on for you, and see if they can just love you right there. Because the more you share it, the more you get it out, the better you feel. Okay? Emotional support. Let's talk about spiritual support. Now, spiritual support is an interesting thing because we all know that you're whole and complete and lacking in nothing. True? We know that spiritually you're created in the image and likeness of God, right? We know that you are amazing and you were created to be amazing. And spiritually, we know that's all true. True? But when you're going through a time of starting over, you don't believe most of it. Right? You just don't believe it. You don't believe that you're amazing. You don't believe that you can do it. You don't believe, you've lost the ability in that moment to really believe in yourself because you're going through so much change. It's hard to believe in yourself. You need people in your life who you can pick up the phone and say, do you still believe in me? Do you still believe in me? Do you still believe that I can get there? Do you still believe that I can have a happy life? Do you still believe that this is possible? Do you still believe that I can be successful? Do you still believe in me? I mean, remember my friend Daniel Nahmod. You know Daniel Nahmod. So Daniel Nahmod, I don't know how many times I called him and said, Daniel, so I just need to know, do you still believe in me? He said, yes, Richard, I still believe in you. He said, do you believe that I can get through this? And he said, Richard, I don't know how you're going to get through it, but I believe that you can get through this, that you are greater than this, that you are wiser than this, and you are stronger than this, and it's not always going to be this hard. And I absolutely needed to hear that. I absolutely needed to hear that. Because sometimes it was so hard to believe in myself. Sometimes it didn't even make sense to believe in myself. And having somebody outside of me that either I could hear in his voice or look in his eyes, and he just kept believing in me, made all the difference in the world. So one of the things that I want you to look at is who's supporting you emotionally and who's supporting you spiritually. Because sometimes the people that support you emotionally don't always do a good job spiritually. They can believe in your humanity, but they don't always see your spiritual potential. And what I want to make sure is that you have both. That you have people in your life that will just love you when you're in your depths of your human experience and rah, 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 and they will just love you right there. And I also want to make sure that you have people that believe that you're not going to get stuck there. That this isn't the end. This is the end of a chapter, but it's not the end of the book. And they believe that you're going to keep on, keeping on, until you get to your end, which isn't today. And so today, do you have people in your life who believe in you? Who you can pick up the phone and say, I'm struggling. Do you still believe in me? I'm struggling. Do you see that I'm greater than this? And they just believe. Because believing makes a difference. And sometimes we can't believe for ourselves. It just seems too big. It's too overwhelming. And we need somebody outside of us that we can just reach up and they just still believe for us. And the last level of support I want to talk about is mentally. Now, mentally, it looks like, we should be fine, right? You just think good thoughts and everything keeps going, right? Has anybody ever had a difficult time thinking good thoughts? Right? Like sometimes when you're in a time of change, thinking good thoughts is hard. You're supposed to, right? Everybody knows that being positive is better, right? Everybody raise your hand if you know that that's true. Being positive is better. Being positive always beats being negative. If you've been around somebody who's negative or being around somebody who's positive, I choose positive, right? It's just easier, it's more fun. And sometimes, mentally, we get a little sideways. True? And that's why we have to be around positive, inspiring people to keep our mind going in a good direction. I mean, that's one of the things that this ministry offers over and over again. This service, this ministry invites people that we can come every week, every Sunday, every Wednesday, and you can hear a thought, an idea that is greater than sometimes we hold for ourselves. That mind game that we sometimes have to play with ourselves is in the presence of somebody else's inspiration, goodness, spiritual presence, reminds our mind that it's going to be okay. So you ready for your homework? So your homework for this week is I want you to look in the places in your life where you know you're not doing a very good job at getting support. Right? And I don't want you to just say, well, my whole life is, I'm just terrible at it, and it's hopeless, and nobody ever supports me, and it's never going to be any better. And you can play that game, but I would rather have you look at your life and say, what are 3 ways? What are 3 ways that I could actually design more support for myself. Or you could do it this way. You could date physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Pick one in each category and say, spiritually, I want to do it this way. Mentally, I want to do it this way. Emotionally, I want to do it this way. And physically, I want to do it this way. But what I want you to be tonight is intentional. I want you to be intentional in creating more support for yourself. Now, is there any penalty for having too much support? Like one of my favorite lines that Jesus said, right, was he said, could I not call forth legions of angels that would come to my assistance? I love that verse. I mean, I use that verse all the time. Could I not call forth legions of angels that would come to my assistance? Now, what's the implication there? That from Jesus' relationship with God, there is no lack of support for anything in his existence. Could he not call forth legions of angels that would come to his assistance? So there's never a time when we have maximized all the support that is possible. We're just getting better at it. We're just getting better at it. Based on the family that you grew up in, based on the life that you've known to this point, how are you doing with support? I like to suggest that most of us, maybe you're doing better, but aren't doing anywhere near as good as we could be doing. That the universe has so much more support for us if we're willing to design it, to ask for it, to open to it, to let the people around us know, to access a higher level of support. So what's your 3 things that you're committed to? What are 3 ways that you'd be willing to have more support than you ever have before? To really see how much God loves you. Are you willing to try? That's your homework. You ready? Okay, let's close with prayer. I invite you to open your mind, your heart, your soul to the activity of God right here, right now. And Spirit, I am ready for more support. I am ready for more support in every area of my life. I am ready for more support in every area of my life. Mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, financially. I am ready for more support in every area of my life. I say yes. I say yes. Heal the places in me where I've been resistant to support. Heal the places within me where I've denied support. Heal the places within me where I didn't even believe it was possible. In the name and through the power of the living Christ Spirit in us all, we say thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.